60 and 60 and single, 60 and happy, 60 and whatever it is that you want to talk about when you're over 60.
You still need me, will you still feed me when I'm 64? Woo!
So, hello, Wendy Deacon. It is
Hi.
so nice to meet you.
Hi, Michelle. It's very nice to meet you. And also because you're a Floridian. Gotta love that.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm actually originally from Ohio, so I'm sort of a long transplant away, and stupid reasons, here I landed in Florida. It was because of my parents. I never thought I would be a Floridian living on a golf course. Like, hey, you know why? It's not me,
It's all good.
but it happens. So,
Yeah.
where are you originally from?
So I actually was born in Michigan, and we
Oh.
lived in Ohio in the
Where?
Toledo
Where in
area.
Michigan? I need to do this.
Yeah,
Where
I
in
know.
Michigan?
So Detroit.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Sure.
Detroit area.
I'm
was
from
born-
I'm from Akron. So
Yeah, see, small world, right? So yeah, born in Dearborn, and the family lived in Minneapolis and areas right around Detroit, and then Toledo, Ohio. But then we moved in my high school years to Vero Beach, Florida.
oh
And I
wow.
thought, of course, yeah, I thought I was going to die, right?
Yeah.
High
Vero
school.
Beach would have, in your high school years, would have been like one stoplight.
Oh yes, there was one high school for the county. Yep, absolutely. But I was so grateful now looking back that they did it and didn't listen to my reservations as a 15-year-old. Thank goodness. But then meandered through college and grad school. I've been very fortunate to live in Vanderbilt and Nashville, and grad school in South Carolina, then in Texas, so Lone Star State, and then now I'm in Denver. So very, very blessed, and still have family in Florida, so I get to go back and visit often.
Well, that's nice. Well, tell me about this really cool business that you're in.
So,
or how would you qualify it? What do you call it? A community?
Yeah, it's a community. So I'm like probably many of you and your listeners, that I was on a career path for a long time. And I knew, I was always looking ahead at that next step, and I loved what I was doing. But then all of a sudden I got to this point where I just went, I think I want something different. And between both personal, I had a friend going through a really difficult cancer diagnosis, and just certain changes in my world that I went, it's time for something different. So I was really loving the fact that I saw so many people around my age and demographic who were really defining new paths. I think about our parents and grandparents when we were younger, and women weren't working in their 50s and 60s, and they weren't going on hiking adventures with their friends. They were, some were, but it was just different. And I just love the fact that I see so many women our age out there stopping, pausing, figuring out what they really want, and then putting the plan in place to actually create this awesome next chapter. Mm-hmm. So I know we met through Second Act Women, which is a great, a community as well, that has a lot to do with our professional lives. But my area of interest and what I just am passionate about is helping people figure out what their next is. And I consider their next adventure, whether it's creating their new blog, whether they're starting their online art studio, whether they're going to do a 5K, or whether they're going to climb a mountain, whatever that next is, and helping them figure it out, and then helping them put the plan in place so they actually achieve it.
Cool. So a lot of coaching.
It is, but it's, and it's more of bringing resources to the community. So I have thought about the individual coaching, and I'm not opposed to it, but I find I love speaking with groups and working with others and sharing those ideas. So I've always been an alliance builder or a bridge builder. So I'm really great at going, Wendy and Michelle. Actually, it's funny because I have a Wendy and a Michelle in my community who are both artists, who are both creating their online stores. So they live in different parts of the country, but they were able to connect and learn from each other on how do you set up your own online art studio to sell their works.
What roadblocks have you run into?
So they're mostly internal. So I will tell you from my own experience, and then again, very commonly I hear from others, is this worrying about either perfectionism or worrying about failure. And I love to see when, again, our friends and family members let go of that and actually take the step forward. And I think one of my greatest learnings in the last 2 years has been that you're not going to always succeed at every step, but each one you're going to learn from. And so that ability to live courageously and live without judgment, right? So don't worry about it being perfect every time. Just try it. Try something new. Take that step forward, because even if it's not perfect, you're going to know pretty quick if it's the right direction or if it's the wrong direction. And
so it's kind of not just about destinations. The
right,
destination could be literally anything. It's not just a travel kind of a thing.
right, right.
Although, speaking of travel, what's like the craziest, scariest place you ever went to?
So I don't know about scariest. One of my favorite places, honestly, is Iceland, because it's like being in a Star Wars movie
I
set.
really want to go there. Yeah.
Oh my God, it is incredible. I've actually been twice, because the first time I went was for like a long weekend when, you found like a fair sale and we're able to bop away for a few days. And I just went, oh my gosh, I've got to go back. So I did a 10-day actually trip around the whole, country. And it was just incredible.
Wow.
So I don't know if there's any place scary. I think I get more scared like when I'm cooking, because I just don't have that gene. And so, I'm better innate when I'm putting together either fun adventure or anything outdoors. That kind of jazzes me up a bit. But I like to think of adventure, because cooking for me is an adventure. So to me, I'm trying to get more women to find out, what do they love to do? What do they consider their next adventure, and how are they going after it?
I mean, I definitely have done some adventures myself. I mean, when I lived in Germany for 15 years and
Yes.
I needed a getaway. And back then is like you went to a travel agent, right? And you said,
Right, right.
I want sun, but I want to stay in my time zone and stuff. So I ended up going to Senegal, but
Oh,
it was a Club Med Senegal. So you literally, when you flew in, you were the pilots, the air crew, like everybody stayed together and got on the same bus to go to the same place. And that literally was the scariest place ever. In the airport in Dakar, where literally the plane was at the end and they were kicking the bags out of the back of the plane, and the luggage thing had parts missing, and the guys with the F-16, and I thought, they don't want to kill us because they want our money. We're tourists.
right.
That was my only thing. I kept repeating that to myself over and over again, because I was like, what am I doing? This is insane. And I was by myself. Like I was mad at my boyfriend. I'm like, I'm going. So I went to Africa. I was like,
Wow.
why not? Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
So
Well, and I had completely forgot, I actually had an opportunity to speak internationally in Istanbul. And
gorgeous. I love
it's
this.
gorgeous, right? But in an area that I was staying, it was a brand new Hilton had just opened up.
Where were you down? Were you on Europe or Asia side?
I was on the Europe side.
Okay.
Yep. And I remember that was the first time that the hotel folks were telling me, like, take this card, don't get in a taxi without telling them you're coming here, because we've got bomb detectors to look underneath the cab before it comes to the property. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
What year was that?
That was about 7 or 8 years ago, so not terribly long.
Yeah.
So that was probably the scariest for me.
Yeah.
But unnerving.
Time I was there 10 times in 11 months or something like that. I worked at Istanbul for a while, so it was. But this is 90s. This is a long time ago.
Long time ago. Another chapter ago.
Oh yeah, I have so many. I've had so many lives. It's like pick an adventure, and I can tell you about it.
But isn't that so wonderful? Because I feel like, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, our moms and grandmothers didn't have that opportunity. Like, they had the family chapter, and it kept growing with time. But we're so fortunate to have these different chapters where we can pivot and do something different, travel more, or put more time in the art studio, or write. It's just fantastic.
Are you an artist?
I no, I'm a photographer and I love to experiment with my art that way, but I don't sell any commercial.
Picture behind you, one of your photos. It's
No, that's a painting I have from Charleston, which I just love because it's just such a great spot in the US. But I do have a number of my photos hanging around that I've printed on glass or on metal mediums.
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
This painting is by a friend of mine in Germany. She does photorealism, so I gotta move.
And that's I would not have guessed that that's a painting, and that's what a Japanese magnolia, right? Which is just
it's in
gorgeous.
the Hofgarten in Dusseldorf. So it's like I even know the tree. So
Yeah. And it's so great because that takes you back to this really cool memory again.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's very inspiring. So even though your website looks like a travel type of thing, it's more about like what's your next destination based on whatever talent it is or whatever item you want to bring into creation.
Correct. Yep. So I have a couple of, you had asked before about coaching. So I actually I've got podcasts and books and resources and blogs to, again, inspire folks to consider what really they would like and go after it. And then I have a Destination You Challenge group where I put out, like we did something last month because of the cold weather in some of the parts of the country, to go to the dollar store and get a bunch of dollar gloves and take them to a shelter. So, spending some time enriching your own self, whether it's mentally, spiritually, emotionally.
That's great. So how did you get your community together? How did you how do you promote this?
So a lot of it is actually connecting people through Facebook, or someone will say, oh, I've got a friend who would like this. And so it's usually word of mouth. And that gets into the free community who are sharing some of these ideas. And then I do have a paid membership called Inspiring Your Next, where it's more focused on walking you through the steps. And then we have an accountability group, and it's a database also, or a collection of experiences that we think should be on your bucket list. So if you've been to this great museum in Dusseldorf,
I was like, give me an example.
Yes. So you've been to a museum in Dusseldorf and you post something in our group and it gets cataloged in this searchable tool, right? And so, for example, I've been on something called a Via Ferrata. Have you ever heard of one of these? So I hadn't heard of this either until September, and it's this really cool, it looks adventurous, but anybody can do it because they're in Europe and they're in the US. And it's this, you're roped in on the side of a cliff or a mountain, and you just are walking along these steps and you're clipped in. So even if and it's literally like walking up a ladder, right? So you don't slip, but if you did, you're caught. But it's really this beautiful scenery. You're always overlooking like Telluride, or there's in Italy, right? And so I posted a statement about a Via Ferrata that I think everybody should look up one and go check it out and spend 3 hours in one. And so then this collection of these experiences and adventures are being, again, in this catalog, so you can search. And so if I want to know, like, where's a great trail in North Carolina to take my dog? Right. Well, I'm hoping that Jane posted about, some of the trails she's been in. And
almost sort of like those cache things. I don't know if I'm saying it right. They're sort of like, there's things hidden, and you find.
Oh, yeah. I've not been on one of those, but it could be similar to that. Yeah. So I will look up Via Ferrata, or if you look also on my webpage, you'll see like videos and podcasts, and you can click.
Can you spell it? So it's Via like road, VIA.
VIA, yep. And then Ferrata is FERATTA, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did the one in Ouray, Colorado, and there's one in Telluride, there's one in Virginia, and there's more, I guess, in Europe. But you can check it out with the video on my website, and then you'll see the spelling of it, and then you can Google, see where else it is. But it's, again, something that I think is so exciting that women, especially in our 50s and 60s, we're not waiting till we're 85 to go travel and check things out. Like, this is a really fun time to go adventure and try something new.
So if I told you that, my podcast is called 60 and, so
yes.
How would you finish that sentence? 60 and ...
Reinvigorated.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Reinvigorated, because I just feel like, And COVID has been challenging for many, many reasons. But I think one of the positives out of COVID and this time that we've had to really, pause, is it's made people stop and think what's important, and hopefully made them realize that before we get another day older,
Yeah.
if something's on your list, a bucket list, a place, an experience, whatever it is, that now you're going to actually do something about it as opposed to wait another 10 years.
So the reinvigoration had to happen. So at what point in your life did you become reinvigorated?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't know the answer to. I'm going to figure that out. That's a really good question. I've always been an optimist and I've always been a doer. I think probably when I decided to leave, I was at National a nonprofit association, loved it, loved the volunteers, physicians, clinicians I was working with. But I think for me, that was a time where I went, I need to do something different. I want to go play more, and I want to find more women who are really pushing the boundaries and creating these new paths. So that was probably the last time I can think of that I got reinvigorated.
Well, good. I was looking for an age. I was looking.
Oh, an age.
Okay.
So I'm not 60 yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm trying to make myself so exhausted that by the time I get to 60. So probably 50 or 51. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think there is, that my thing was that this was born out of going to a luncheon, socially distanced with masks and everything. Yeah. And I was at a table with some very young women. And when the waiter was coming to us, and of course now we're all masked, right? But right. I think we had the masks off because we were at the table. But it was kind of the first time that they were talking and ignored me totally. Like you could ask for what you wanted, and it is though you never even spoke.
Yes.
Wow, this is amazing. Like I kind of sat back and I was like, oh, this is really interesting.
That's a sociology experiment. Yeah.
Exactly.
And not always a good one, but an interesting one.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it is important to empower women to really create. Like, I love the fact that you have this destination is also a creation destination, because that is probably my middle name is create. I'm always creating stuff. So I love that. And I'm an Aries, like new thing, shiny thing. So it's like whatever I can do. I don't necessarily finish what I'm doing, but I certainly will move on to something new and exciting. Right. Exactly.
But I think that trying something new and taking those risks, I think it's like the best anti-aging step you can take. Because always learning, whether it's a new language, whether it's a new travel destination, whether it's getting in the car and driving 2 hours just to spend time journaling at the beach.
Right.
I think anytime that we get rid of that facade of living perfectly and having to, always be, don't worry, I don't want to be in the limelight. You've got to take those steps forward, and you've got to express yourself and be who you are and not worry about all the rest, because I don't want us to be invisible. I agree. I think we have so much wisdom and so much experience and so much joy to share.
Yeah. So magic is really important in my life. My father was a magician, so I'm surrounded by—
I missed that. I missed the fact that your father was a magician. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was very cool growing up. Yes, I was sawed in half. Yes, I was disappeared. Yes, I know how to do all that. But no, I can't tell you. He would roll over in his grave.
He would.
If I did.
Yeah, he would.
What I like to ask everyone, what is your magic moment? If you had one moment in your life that you could say, this was a magic moment, what would it be?
Ooh, a magic moment.
Of course you've had many, but if you had one that's just like, whatever the first one was to pop into your head, that's the magic one.
Okay. Well, then, and it possibly is because we were also speaking about Iceland, but I was standing in this place called the Jökulsárlón, which is Glacier Bay.
You get 20 points for being able to say that.
Thank you. Thank you. And don't ask me to spell it because that's even more challenging. But I'm very fortunate in that I'm somebody who stops and appreciates and takes in the moment, right? I just love it. Even the picture can't capture it, whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember this is just a couple of years ago, standing on this black sand beach that had all these glaciers, and they look like little diamonds rolling around, right? And then these huge glaciers that are breaking off. Hopefully not while I'm standing on the beach. But
Yeah.
I felt like I was literally in the Empire Strikes Back Star Wars movie set, and it was just so different. And I just felt so incredibly blessed and overwhelmed
Mhm.
by this scene that I was lucky enough to be a part of. So that to me was probably one of, I hope, God, I think I would hopefully get 50 to 100 magic moments that are just so good. And how wonderful as we keep getting older, we keep getting more of them.
It might also be a good exercise to go back and just pick a magic moment for each year. It's like,
I think that's awesome.
Moment for this year. What was the magic moment for this year?
Yeah.
I like to simplify things down to like 1 or 2 because it makes it easier to manage. And I used to go back through my day planner and then like pick what was the theme for this year or whatever, So
Yeah.
maybe pick out like what's, this was like even in your planner for a month. It's like, what was this month's magic moment? Kind of just to bring you back as a touchstone to say, this was a really cool thing and I'm really glad I did it, especially because you're into experiences as opposed to things.
And what did you learn? Because again, you learn from everything, right? You learn every time you try something new.
Is there anything else you want to talk about or bring up about your community or?
So I just, invite those who are a little bit maybe more reserved or timid and not sure that they want to take that next step or feel like it might be a little too bold, that whether it's, with your community, with, happy to help join ours, whether it's the free one or paid one, or your own support group, whoever is your, what I call your significant other circle, who are the people who are supportive of you, and tell them what you want to do, because it's going to help keep you accountable so that you keep moving forward to that. Because I don't think any of us can afford anymore to look back and keep going, ooh, I should have done that years ago, right? Exactly. So go after, don't, live fearlessly, go after it. I love the fact that, as we get older, we're supposed to even have less filters, right? So that's going to be great by the time I get to 70 or 80. I can't wait till that happens.
But it happens at 60. Let me tell you.
Good, it happens at 60. Mrs. C, I've got so much more to look forward to.
I'm 62 and 11 months. So I'm almost 63. And it definitely, the older you get, the more you are just like, nah.
Yeah. This is who you are.
Yeah. I'm just not going to go there, do that. The most fun thing is when someone asks you to do something and you go, no, I'm not, no, thanks.
No. That's not,
like,
I'm out on that one.
I'm not, no, I don't have to go. And they're all like,
what? Yeah, what?
And I'm just
I do have a free download right now on road trips and tips for 2021. And I'll tell you, because I want to make sure that people hear that this is the perfect time to plan it. And there are communities that are a little more open than others. So of course, the guide has a lot of information about checking things COVID related before you go anywhere. But, road trip can be, again, a 2-hour thing to to a trail, journal and come home. That's very socially distant. That's very COVID safe. But it may also be a really good guide to help you plan for if you want to get away for a few days when you feel it's safe. So it's a great resource, and it's at inspiringyournext.com. They just go and they can download it. It's a huge file because it's 23 pages and really great. There are 8 routes and a lot of tips and links. So it may help spur some creative juices.
Breeze through that title very quickly. It is inspiringyournext.com.
Correct.
You did it very flowingly. Let's make it sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that they can.
And I love to see your artwork and how you're bringing magic. I love the question that you asked, and I'm actually going to use that question with my community about how are they recognizing the magic in this chapter or a previous chapter.
When did you start this community?
So I started, let's see. I started with my first book, which was Destination Unknown. And again, talking about how we're thinking through these things and how we start charting that different path. And that was published a year and 3 months ago. So November 2019.
Wow.
Is it right, 2019? Yeah, 2019.
Okay. Well, we had a
And then-
missing year in there, so.
Right. And then last April was when I started the free Facebook group, because I realized with everything shutting down, we needed a moment to just let's focus on us for just a little bit and bring some positive vibes back in. And so from there, really the community took off.
Well, great. Thank you so much for being a part of 60 and, even though you're not 60 yet.
I'm aspiring. I'm aspiring to it.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
I'll get there. No, I'm so excited to have a chance to meet you and talk with you and learn more about your work as well.
Yeah.
You need me, will you still feed me when I'm 60?